Let's get to some movers we are watching ahead of the opening bell today. Airbnb and Blackstone are on the list after it was announced the two companies would be joining the S&P 500 on September 18th. They'll replace Lincoln National and Newell Brands. Why is this important? Well, in the case of Blackstone, quite interesting. This is the first alternative asset manager to join the S&P 500. So a little bit of a benchmark, if you will, there. What had prevented the company from going in to the S&P previously is it has a dual share structure, and Standard & Poor's has sort of changed its rules around whether companies like that can be allowed in. So it was predicted that Blackstone was a likely contender, and indeed it is going to be joining the index.
Yeah, absolutely. And on the other side of this, you mentioned Airbnb, a company who we've had the opportunity to speak with here on Yahoo Finance many times over the course of this year. Brian Chesky joining us and really giving us kind of their vision about how they're adding on new hosts to the platform, trying to make sure that people have the ability to monetize more of their living environment. If you saw the first page or the cover of their second quarter release, you'll recognize that Barbie pink from being able to see it either in theaters or just reading through some financial metrics. But at the end of the day, I think for an Airbnb, it really is a signal of how much not only this company has grown up, maintained a lot of investor sentiment over the years, but also how it can be now one of the core travel plays that investors continue to consider. Just taking a look at the move over the past 5 days here, and it's been an interesting past 3 months and year for Airbnb, as well as many of the travel players who have continued to cite that shift to services spending, especially in the experience economy right now.
On the flip side, there's a new law that goes into effect today in New York City that is going to dramatically change Airbnb's exposure in New York. It's a new short-term rental law that is going to put a lot of curbs on whether people can sublet out their apartments through Airbnb. They have to live in the apartment, I believe, at least some of the time. That's one of the regulations. So we're going to see a big drop in listings, most likely, for Airbnbs in New York. Perhaps this has already been priced into the shares. We knew this was going into effect, but it is something to keep an eye on in this city, especially since we have seen a smattering of cities enact laws like this. So will there be more? Again, there hasn't been that much of a hit to the stock because of this, at least not recently, but something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I'm taking a look at Expedia shares as well on that same note, down by about 0.7% here pre-market. But of course, that company made some key strategic acquisitions in some of the Airbnb competitors, namely Vrbo as well. And so we'll see how that law takes them. I got some neighbors that I think are renting out their place. I'm not going to snitch on them. Which unit? Who knows?
But I guess overbalancing that is this idea that they're being added to the S&P. You have an enormous amount of money that is benchmarked to the S&P 500 in ETFs, in index funds, et cetera. So these stocks get automatically added to those holdings in advance of a move like this. So that's why you see them move higher.